Are you a new dad or about to be a new dad and always feeling like the useless guy in the corner? Does it feel like your wife has it all figured out and you have absolutely nothing to contribute? Let me let you in on a little secret. New moms don't have it all figured out. Many have confessed that to me on this program. They appear confident because they sought help where they weren't confident. And now you can too. In this episode called Why You Can't Wing Childbirth, we're going to explore the basics of being prepared and confident in just a moment, so don't go anywhere. This program is made possible by financial support from Smile Online Course and Books. Smile Online offers online courses for teens and young adults designed to help them master social and career skills. Subject matter includes customer service skills, job interviewing, electronic etiquette, and managing stress. For more information, visit thefatherhoodchallenge.com. That's thefatherhoodchallenge.com.
Welcome to the Fatherhood Challenge, a movement to awaken and inspire fathers everywhere to take great pride in their role and to challenge society to understand how important fathers are to the stability and culture of their family's environment. Now, here's your host, Jonathan Guerrero.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Tell me if this guy is you. Picture the scene. It's 3 a.m. You're in a hospital room. The lights are dim, but the fluorescent bulb in the hallway keeps humming. Your partner, the person you love the most in the world, is in bed. She's in pain. I mean real pain. The kind of pain that makes animal noises. And you're holding a Yeti tumbler of ice water that nobody actually wants. You're tired, you're scared, you feel totally useless. You look at the nurse hoping she'll tell you what to do. You look at the monitor trying to figure out if that squiggle means the baby's okay or if everything is actually going wrong. You're frozen. Welcome to a typical birth experience for dads. Welcome to my 2 birth experiences. Today, we're going to dismantle a very old, stubborn myth. The myth is that when it comes to childbirth, the dad's only job is to drive the car, carry the bags, and try not to pass out. We're talking about a rapidly growing field that is changing the way men experience the birth of their children. We're talking about dad doulas. Now, before you roll your eyes, I know what you're thinking. And you're probably thinking, oh, this is some kind of woo-woo or this is some new age nonsense. Hang in there. Stick with me. Because by the end of this half hour, I'm going to convince you that getting a coach for yourself might be the single best investment that you make for both you and your partner. Now, let's start with the expectations. We're going to call this the rock fallacy. The expectations that we put on men in the delivery room. So society tells us to be the rock, and we hear it all the time. Just be her rock. Well, let's break down that exactly what that's asking of you to be a rock. To be a rock means to be immovable, unemotional, stoic. It implies that while your world is turning upside down, you shouldn't be affected by it. It implies men don't experience birth trauma or that men don't have emotions. It implies you don't experience birth trauma. Here's the problem. First of all, that's all a lie. Second, you are a human being. When you see your partner screaming or you see a lot of blood in the room, suddenly doctors flood in the room because the baby heart rate just dropped. Your biology takes over. Your brain dumps adrenaline and cortisol into your system. You go into what's called fight or flight. But you can't fight the doctors because they're doing what you actually wish you could do, and that's to help. You certainly can't flee the room. So you do the only option you have left. You freeze. This is where the typical medical system falls short. We have prenatal classes that teach us how to swaddle a doll and how to drive the route to the hospital, but almost no one teaches men how to regulate their own nervous system during a crisis. And here's the kicker, guys. Panic is dangerous. Panic is contagious. I'm going to say that again. Panic is contagious. If you're standing next to your laboring partner and you are radiating anxiety and tension and fear, it literally inhibits her birth production that makes labor progress. Your fear can actually slow down the birth. So if you can't be a rock because you're terrified, what can you do? You need someone to teach you how to stay regulated, and this is where dad doula comes in. So, what exactly is a dad doula? Let's define the terms. Most of you know what a regular doula is. Usually it's a woman focused entirely on the mother and things like hip squeezes, counter pressure, and advocacy. They're amazing. And if you can get one for your wife early in the pregnancy. This is one of your first steps as a new dad. Work with your partner to find a doula that she is comfortable with. This requires a lot of listening and observation skills and being in tune with your partner emotionally. If you pull this off, you're already a hero. But a dad doula, sometimes called a male birth coach, a male doula has a different focus. Their focus is actually on the relationship and the father specifically. So I want you to think about sports here just for a moment. If your wife is the quarterback, she's the one on the field taking the hits, making the plays, and the doctor or the midwife is the head coach calling the plays. Think of the dad doula as the one up in the booth or the frantic guy that you see on the sidelines holding the clipboard. Does that sound familiar to you? His job is to make sure you, the guy blocking the quarterback, not only knows what's going on out there, but are ahead of what's about to happen. Well prepared, even if the play changes. Here's what this really looks like practically. Let's talk about the translator role. You're in labor, or your partner's in labor. The OBGYN walks in and says, "She's 5 centimeters, but the station is high. I think we should start the Pitocin, or maybe break her water." To the doctor, that's just a typical Tuesday. To you, that sounds absolutely terrifying. You don't know what station means. You just heard intervention. That's all that's going through your mind. A dad doula leans over to you and whispers, "Okay, here's what this really means. The baby's still floating up high. The heart rate just dropped a little. They want to speed things up a little bit. So here are 3 questions that you can ask the doctor right now to make sure that this is absolutely necessary." Boom! You go from a confused bystander to an active advocate for your partner who's very vulnerable in that moment. You look smart because you are. You feel in control. And most importantly, your partner looks at you and sees the man who has his head in the game and has her back, as well as your new baby. Now let's talk about the physical guardrail. This sounds silly, but fathers, forget to eat and forget to pee during labor. I'm being perfectly serious. I'm dead serious about this. I get it. Then 14 hours in, you're hypoglycemic. You're faint. And suddenly the nurses are taking care of you instead of your wife. A dad doula is the guy who makes sure you built essential care for yourself into the birth plan way in the beginning, just for that specific moment. Okay, now let's talk about the 4th trimester and mental health. I want to pivot to the darker side of this conversation, the stuff that we don't want to talk about at baby showers. Yep, it's trauma. I'm bringing it up now because I actually experienced it. No one prepared me for it. No one was there to support me afterwards and make sure I was okay. And even if they were, I would have felt guilt for taking resources away from my wife because I should have been the rock. This was the point I spiraled down. And so can you if you're not aware of it. And in all fairness, this is not something that is typically talked about. What I mean is the fatherhood role, what the father needs during this experience. The father not only feels like the guy in the corner, but is often treated that way as the guy in the corner. And I'm not, I don't want to be judgmental and just say that everybody's intentionally just trying to push fathers out, because I don't believe that is the case. I believe what is actually going on is nobody really knows what to do with the dad. And we're going to cover paternal postpartum depression a little bit. But 20 years ago, very few people even heard that word, much less understood what it really meant. So if we go back to my birth trauma experience, first of all, it's not their fault. I didn't even have the vocabulary to communicate what was going on with me because I didn't understand fully what was going on with me. By the time I figured out what was happening to me, sadly, the damage was already done. The damage was done to me. The damage was done to my family because guess what? Because I didn't understand what it was, because it wasn't diagnosed. There wasn't a name for it. And because I didn't understand how badly it had affected me, I projected it onto my family, onto my relationship with my wife, and onto my relationship with my kids, even later in life. And it took years of therapy to pull that apart and to try to begin that healing process. So no one would have known what to do, even if I had the vocabulary for it, because this just wasn't something. First of all, the medical staff aren't trained for it. So when it happens and the father's experiencing that, unless you built that into your birth plan, the support team for the dad in that event, if there's a doula in the room for the mother, that doula's first priority is the mother. And that should not change. The mother is actually the one, and she is. If the mother is experiencing the trauma, there needs to be somebody for her. Not only just the medical team treating whatever crisis is happening in that moment, but there needs to be a doula and the midwife that can actually support the mother emotionally through what she's dealing with. But the father cannot be ignored. And this is why you have to have that support team built into the birth plan. So when it does happen, and by the way, birth trauma events have gone up, not actually gone down. So if there ever has been a time when a dad doula is needed in the dad's corner, it's now more than ever. So that's essential. So yes, we've established birth can be traumatic. And even good births, a very good birth can be intense. But emergency C-sections, vacuum extractions, hemorrhages, NICU stays, those are really, really heavy. There's a statistic that shocks everyone when I say it. Approximately 1 out of every 10 or 10% of new fathers experience paternal postpartum depression or anxiety. Yes, I said new fathers. And I bet you thought only mothers get postpartum depression. Nope. Dads get it too. I had it. I suffered alone. And my family suffered because of it too. Why? A huge contributing factor is unresolved trauma from the delivery room. Men see things in the room that they can't unsee. But because we're told we have to be strong, we stuff it down like we do everything else. We go back to work 2 days later and we say, well, I didn't push the baby out, so I don't have a right to complain. Sometimes this is actually what's communicated to us by others around us. So that trauma just festers. It turns into anger. It turns into checking out. It turns into drinking a little too much or taking that puff to ease the pressure, or even porn. A dad doula is there for the post-game analysis. This is when you often need a dad doula, the most, because no one can control everything that happens at the birth or before the birth. But you can control yourself, and you can control how you show up for your family. And let's be honest, birth isn't the game itself. It's just the beginning of the first quarter at best. Family life is the game itself. And how you start the game often decides how the rest of the game is going to go. They meet with you a week after the birth. They sit down and ask, how was that for you? What was the scariest moment? Having a safe, non-judgmental space to say, you know what? I thought she was going to die. Or I felt completely helpless. It's a relief to admit that to someone who still thinks you're a man for admitting it, and they won't yank your man card for having real emotions and feelings. It stops that trauma from setting in. It allows you to process the event so you can actually be present for your kid, for your baby, and your partner. If we want better fathers, we have to support them becoming fathers. You can't pour from an empty cup. Now, I can hear the skeptics. I can hear the tough guys that are in the back. They're saying, or maybe that's even you. You're the one saying, I don't need another dude. I can handle it. Why should I pay money for a buddy? So I get it. It feels like an ego hit. It feels like admitting you aren't enough. But let me ask you this. Did Tiger Woods have a caddy? Do the best boxers in the world have a corner man? Do the best athletes in the world succeed without coaching? Having support doesn't make you weak. In fact, it makes you effective. And what guy doesn't want to be effective for his family? Let's talk about the cost. Yeah, it costs money. So does everything else. But look at the divorce rates in the first year of parenting. They are high. Why? Because of resentment. Because the mom felt unsupported during childbirth. Or the dad checked out because he was overwhelmed. Hiring a dad doula is cheaper than a divorce lawyer. It is cheaper than years of therapy to fix the resentment that started in the delivery room. It's less stress than being distant from your kids because you missed multiple key moments to bond right from the very beginning. It's an investment in the foundational memory of your family unit. Women traditionally invest financially in the well-being of their family. So why wouldn't you do the same? When your partner looks back on the birth, you don't want her to remember you panicking in the corner. You want her to remember you holding her hand, calm, collected, and guiding her through it confidently. What do you want her to remember about how you showed up for your family after the birth right from the start? What kind of legacy are you planning? If a dad doula helps you to achieve that, isn't it worth it? So, where do we go from here? If you are expecting, or you know someone who is, I want you to look into this. You don't always have to hire a specific dad doula, although sometimes it does help. Many traditional doulas offer specific partner support packages and offer support for various trimesters. So ask these questions when you interview a doula. First, how do you support me, the partner? Number 2, how will you help me interpret the medical jargon? Number 3, will you check on my mental health after the baby is born? We have to stop treating fathers like accessories in the delivering room. You are half of the equation. You matter. Your mental state matters. So don't just wing it. Don't just hope for the best. Build a team that ensures that you can show up as the father and partner that you want to be and that your family deserves. Now, here's some helpful checklist questions for any dad doula that you may want to interview, or the midwife or the doula that is involved with working with the mother. The first part of this is the logistics or the game plan. This is what you're going to want to ask during the 3rd trimester appointment. What is the protocol for when we first arrive? Do you go to the ER? A specific labor entrance? Do you call ahead? Knowing exactly where to park and walk reduces massive anxiety on that big day. This is called planning ahead, a game plan. This is the second one, if she's in a lot of pain, but it's too early for admission, what can I do at home? Get specific medical advice on safe pain relief, such as baths, positions, timing, contractions, so that you aren't guessing at 2 a.m. If you're having to figure this out at 2 a.m., it's probably too late. Also, what are your policies on the golden hour? Ensure that you know if the baby stays on mom's chest immediately or if they're whisked away. Know that stuff. If they are whisked away, ask, can I go with the baby? Now let's talk about phase 2, the what ifs, the intervention management. If labor stalls, what is your typical first step before medical induction? Doctors often have what's called a ladder of intervention, such as breaking the water, or we talked about Pitocin earlier. Knowing the ladder helps you to prepare mentally. In the event of a C-section, this is another question. In the event of a C-section or planned emergency, where will I be? Will you be at the head, or are you going to be in the hallway? Knowing your physical position prevents you from freezing up. Establish a code. If the doctor says, we need to move now, then you move. If they say we should consider, well, you have time to talk. Now let's move on to phase 3, which is the heat of the moment. First question, can you explain that in plain English? Terms like station are thrown around. And the next question, is this an emergency or do we have 5 minutes to talk about it? So you would use this when an intervention is suggested or your partner looks scared or unsure. Next question, what is the alternative to this option? You want to ensure you are making an informed choice, not just following the default plan. And last, let's talk about phase 4, the dad self-care. These are some reminders for yourself. Definitely include this in your birth plan. Have I eaten in the past 4 hours? You can't support her if you just passed out. Am I holding my breath? If you are tense, she will tense. She will be tense. So learn to exhale. Take deep breaths. Last question. Do I know where the coffee or ice machine is? Or water? Scout out this location as soon as you get to the room and know exactly where it is. So if you would like a copy of the checklist, then reach out, go to thefatherhoodchallenge.com. That's thefatherhoodchallenge.com. And if you go to the contact page, fill out the contact form, reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear how this episode helped you or was a benefit to you. Ask me for this checklist. I would be glad to email you a copy of this checklist that you can use. This program is called the Fatherhood Challenge, so we try to end each episode with a challenge. So here's my challenge to you as a new dad. First, take charge. Before you start with your family, start with yourself. Start advocating for yourself, especially for your mental health needs. Get a good therapist, one that you connect with and will support you for the long haul. There are many different therapy modalities or methods. Research them carefully and find the modality that you're the most comfortable with. Next, take charge of your family's well-being. The Rifleman's Creed begins with, "This is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine." Replace the word rifle with family. This is my family. There are many like it, but this one is mine. Love your partner and take care of her as you would take care of yourself. Take initiative. Do research. Educate yourself. Your family is a blessing given for you to take care of. Take it seriously. Many would love to have what you have been blessed with, so don't take it for granted. Last, real men are secure enough in their manhood to ask questions and ask for help. They would rather get help than screw up because they're putting their family first. That wraps this episode. If you're a new dad, I want to say congratulations to you, as if I were standing right in front of you saying it to you in front of your face. The world needs more good dads like you. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fatherhood Challenge. If you would like to contact us, listen to other episodes, find any resource mentioned in this program, or find out more information about the Fatherhood Challenge, please visit thefatherhoodchallenge.com. That's thefatherhoodchallenge.com.